come from land with the ice and snow, where the midnight sun and the hot springs blow. I have no idea what I'm doing, man. Eduardo, why'd you put me up to that, man? That's wrong. That's wrong. Immigrant song, man. Crazy. Hey. Well, it's December 3rd on a Friday. I'm sorry it's taken me a while to catch these vids up and try and get them. I should have got the Birdo vid and all that stuff, but you lose internet for a week, you kind of fall behind, man. You know, because most papers don't really carry a lot of boxing in them anymore, and it's a shame on them. Anyway, this is the Afterfight Afterthought for the Carl Froch Arthur Abraham fight, and I thought I would. This is going to be a little different than probably any of them I've ever done, because I'm going to try and kind of include a round by round in there. And as we know, this is the 3 phases of the fight: the before, during, and after the fight. And I talk about both fighters, and this will be the. I start with the winner, the afterfight, and then I go to the loser, the afterthought. And obviously, in this afterfight, we know it was Carl Froch. yeah, it was. He was coming into the fight. He kind of had a questionable win over Durrell. I actually had him winning by 1 point, and he had the loss against Kessler, which I thought was a draw. And you know, you can't just call it a loss to Kessler. I mean, that was a war. That was a great fight, but there were some things that he was lacking in. You started thinking to yourself, is he overrated? Because he comes in, he seems to be just looking to brawl, looking for the big shot. He's awkward. He does this, and you know, he takes too many clean shots. His D seems a little off, and you know, basically coming into this fight, it was a must-win for him. And then he, I don't know who showed up to that fight, but it wasn't the same Froch that I had watched for like the last 2 years, you know. And usually you don't revert to old school style, but when I saw this, one of the things I thought was, you remember when Arturo Gatti was in the big war, the trilogy with Mickey Ward? And by the way, Mickey Ward's putting out something, I don't know, maybe I'll try and get an interview. Sorry, I got sidetracked. But when he did that trilogy with Mickey Ward, he changed his style. He like reinvented himself, like Tommy Morrison did when he had to fight Foreman. You know, I mean, there were times in a fighter's career where they do something and it shows, I care, I want to be better, I'm not in this for the BS. You know what I'm saying? And when you saw him in there, it was crazy. So he gets in and it starts fast. He's throwing, he's popping out his jab. He's you know, showing great movement that he hadn't shown in years. And you know, he has good timing. He's throwing nice combinations. He's pounding that jab through the guard of Abraham. Going through, he's keeping his range. You can see the size advantage happening. This is like in the first 3 rounds. In the 4th round, all of a sudden, boom, you see he absolutely pounds Abraham back into the ropes. You know, throwing a lot of nice body shots. In the 5th, he's absolutely unloading on Abraham. You know, he's really being able to tee off, throwing some big uppercuts. His jab is pounding through that guard. I mean, Abraham's hands are here to block, but when he's hitting, it's pushing his hands apart, and if this is snapping Abraham's head back. In the 6th, he hurts. You can see that he hurts Abraham with a body shot in the 6th round. You know, and got a bit wild. Didn't like to see him get too wild with that, but he was controlling, nice combinations, outworking, out-hitting, and out-hustling Abraham. In the 7th, you know, it looks like he's landing combos at will. Abraham looks like he's getting a little bit flustered. Well, he looked pretty flustered since the bell sounded. In the 8th, it appeared as if he was taking it a bit too easy. Abraham started landing some solid right hands in there. But, you know, he started landing big body shots. You know, he was getting hit by body shots as well, but he landed the bigger shots of it. And, you know, he ended the round with some big jabs. You know, really snapping Abraham's head back and controlling the fight, keeping distance, keeping away from the smaller fighter, keeping the jabs, or the to where Abraham basically had to lunge if he was really trying to close distance with him. Very, very good fight, smart fight. 9th, he lands a big left hand that buckled Abraham's knees. He lands a big right to end the round. I mean, he controlled that entire round with his jabs and the way he was hitting in the 10th. You know, again, big body shots. You can see they're taking their toll, and he's taking control. And in there, you could sense Abraham could have won at any time, but he's got a heart, man. The guy is not going to give up. In the 11th, looked like a bit of a low blow. Abraham's trying to look at anything and take it to where he can just kind of back out of there. You know what I'm saying? Looking for the easy way out. Because they traded like rabid punches in the last couple rounds, and Abraham really took to, you know, covering up his head and like trying to play it out a little bit. But he's back on the attack, totally outboxed, kept his distance. A brilliant fight. In the 12th, he got careless again, was getting hammered by some right hands. They started trading right hands, and then he imposed his will and took control over the fight. Excellent, excellent fight for Carl Froch. I don't really think he lost a round. Could have had one of the rounds go Abraham's way, maybe the 8th round, but at best that was probably a draw. His corner and himself. This is the after the fight now. His corner and himself. You got to tip the hat to them for realizing, doing their homework, creating a style that worked for the opponent. And this is what I always talk about with fighters and their corners. If you see the stuff on film, why don't you implement it into your training? We saw the blueprint kind of that Durrell put on Abraham. If you keep your distance, you can land the solid shots and be able to get out and still be able to do your thing. You stay away from the danger, and you're still able to do your thing. What's up for him now? He's got to go against Glenn Johnson. He's still got to fight Glenn Johnson. I mean, Glenn Johnson looked good against Alan Green, but I think anybody in the Big Six that was in it, Super Six, would have looked good against Alan Green. Even Abraham. Because Alan Green I don't rate that high as an elite super middleweight. So, but I think it's a bit of a down step for him, actually, fighting Glenn Johnson. And it's nothing against Glenn Johnson. I like him a lot as a fighter. I really do. I mean, he's a warrior in there. I mean, travels anywhere, fights anybody. You know, he's the consummate professional, if there ever was one. Then, obviously, if he wins that, which I think he will, he'll go on and fight Ward, and that is going to be gangbusters right there, especially if he keeps this style. You know, Ward looked good with Bika. He got cut up a little bit, but, you know, that poses a great thing for him. So, I mean, the world's his oyster, and he really looks motivated. Like, that loss really, he improved from it. Some fighters fade, Prince Hasim Hamed. Others rise to the occasion. And great champions will do that. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a great champion. Don't take my words out of context. What I'm saying is he's showing the signs of it with the way he changed his style. It was great to see. Obviously, could there be a rematch with Durrell? Absolutely. Lucien Butte, that's a definite thing that's on the mark. And if he needs a tune-up fight or something like that, maybe a Kelly Pavlik. That would be kind of cool to watch. Over to Arthur Abraham now, in the Afterthought. You know, he's coming off his first loss. He was getting thoroughly outworked and outboxed by Durrell. Looked a bit frustrated, and he's trying to erase that memory. He doesn't want people to think of him as a dirty fighter, a guy that hits a guy late and stuff, and he really hadn't shown that in his past fights. But when you think about it, you know, Froch isn't Durrell. Froch is willing to get hit, you know, and hit you back, you know, but Froch's style is different. You know, he'll stand and trade and try to, you know, take you out late. That doesn't work with Froch, you know. And so, coming in, you know, it's a must-win for him, too. It's a must-win for any of these fighters, really, to establish it. But I think more so for Arthur Abraham because of the way he kind of got exposed in the Durrell fight. You know, yeah, you can walk down fighters that aren't quote-unquote elite, but when you're fighting a guy that's really up there, you know, he struggled mightily against them and was losing handily on the card. I'm not saying that he wasn't. He started faster. He was popping jabs as well, but, you know, but who is this guy in front of him? It's obviously not the guy that they trained for. Because Froch fought a totally different fight than him. He's getting out jabbed, he's getting out work, he's getting out hit. He tries to close the distance, but you can see the size disadvantage, which I didn't really think it would play that much of an effect, but you really could see it because Froch actually used his size to his advantage. In the fourth round, Froch appeared to be imposing his will on him. He was too stagnant, he wasn't moving enough, not throwing enough. When he did, he actually landed a little bit, but he just kept using that I'm going to cover up and you'll tire out ploy. But Froch is too big, and he's an elite fighter, or in that elite class of fighters, to where he's going to have the stamina to go 12 rounds and pound you for 12 rounds. He tries to open up in the 6th. You can tell he's hurt to the body. In the 7th, he was starting to get hit with multiple combinations. Nothing was working for him. Every time he threw a jab, he got jabbed right back in the face, and then some. In the 8th, he started mounting a comeback, and then Froch came right back on him and hurt him to the body, big time. And the 9th, 10th, 11th, I went over those in the other. If you look, I don't think he looked flat at all. I think he just got beat by a better fighter. His punches didn't look like they weren't or couldn't hurt Froch. It's that he couldn't hit Froch. Because when he landed a couple of those solid shots in the 12th or in the 8th, it looked like it got to Froch just a little bit. I'm not saying major, but a cumulative effect I absolutely could have seen, but he could not land them. What is this, So what is in for him now? Now he is saying he's going to keep his word and fight Ward, which I think is a bad mistake for him. I think he needs to drop back down to the 160, fight, go and maybe have a nice fight with Kelly Pavlik. Pavlik comes up a lot right now because he's just dangerous enough that you've got to watch what you do with him or you go to sleep. Maybe even a Paul Williams kind of fight, because Paul Williams will be suckered into playing a closer fight. Felix Sturm, or maybe even going in against Martinez, because let's face it, at the 160, Arthur Abraham was a bad dude. He defended his title 10 times. I mean, he was a legit champion down there. So that I see him going back down to 160, realizing he's not big enough to cut the 168, and go from there. Learn from those two losses. He learned 168 isn't for him. He needs to drop down where the guys are a little bit more his size. Granted, Paul Williams is 6'2", but he doesn't fight 6'2". So, all in all, it was an excellent fight. If you haven't seen it, you need to go watch it. And I think that's about it. Yeah, that's right. Right, Eduardo? Yeah. All right, well, hey, this is the Afterfight Afterthought with a little bit of round-by-round action in there. Let me know what you think. Comment, rate, subscribe. Yeah, subscribe, yeah. All right, well, hey, this is Bigragu. I'm out.